the Nidus Worm, and let's prepare for everything that comes our way.
And let's go into game 3 now. In the bottom right, in the red, he is Serral. And his opponent in the upper left, in the blue, from Korea, give it up for soO!
Being down 0-2 at this point, one of the hardest positions a pro player can find themselves in. Having to win the next 3 maps in a row to progress to the semifinals. soO has to continue to play with no fear. He's got to find a way to upset this just absolute titan of an opponent. Serral, his ability to hang on, second to none. But we've got a smaller map. It's Ephemeron here. It does open up a little bit more potential with these timing attacks, these big roach pushes that soO's known for. It can catch Serral off guard. He's got a lot less time to respond.
That's right. On tighter maps, you don't have to be as reliant on Nidus Worms in order to get quick engages in unusual spots. Again, we can also have a short game that's more typical of a ZvZ with the rushes with Lings and Banelings. So far, both players have avoided that. I don't know if that's because they're so confident in their late game and in the Nidus play and Lurker play that they want to rely on that, but we haven't had either of these guys rush or try to pull the trigger early on.
Yeah, it's very funny because you don't see that a lot with Serral. There are some players who will try to match him, but very rarely do they get ahead off that opening. I think a lot of players are a bit intimidated by Serral's control, so they look at him and they say, do I really want to play the most frantic, fast-paced, action-packed early game of Zergling Baneling versus Zergling Baneling? A lot of players shy away from that, and they don't really test him at that stage. But I agree with you, and it looks like soO does as well. He's going to go for that Zergling speed, as he did on map number 2. And we'll see if it works out.
So far, the builds are mirroring each other. We're waiting to see when one of them will branch off into a specific tech tree. For now, it's drones and queens and the same upgrades. Most likely, yeah, we're going to have a third base taken up here. So no action for the time being. But again, it's inevitable that we're going to have these guys start to heat up and fight. I'm very curious to see what happens if we have the 2 players go in 2 very opposite tech directions.
You know, I've seen Serral play this map quite a few times at this point, especially when he's up in a series. The evolution of Serral this year is more and more aggressive play, especially when he's up in a series. He doesn't always just sit back. He's not a one-trick pony. When he started coming up the ranks and becoming a top player, he was really just playing late game. He wanted to defend, he wanted to survive. Every game was a macro fest. Nowadays, he does sometimes just branch into some crazy aggression, and this would be the map for it. The third base is spread far apart. It's hard to defend the third base and the natural expansion. There we go, 14 Zerglings in the production tab. Looks like Serral, he wants to put some aggression on. So many players are being greedy against him. Let's see if soO plays safe enough.
So we have those 16 Zerglings being made, along with the Banelings nests on both sides, but there are 12 Lings being made on soO's side, which means he may have enough to defend. Although, it's not always a game of numbers. A lot of times it comes down to if the Banelings can connect with the Zerglings and or the drones. If you end up getting worker kills or major army kills, things can start to snowball.
A lot of Banelings being morphed in defense here for soO. The Zerglings are going to come in and start attacking that hatchery. The Zerglings do come up there for soO. A couple of Banelings waddling forward. They are going to push those Zerglings off the hatchery. It takes a light bruising, but no critical damage just yet for either side. The dance does go down. Good focus fire. Serral takes down the Baneling. Where are the other Banelings of soO's? They're over at the natural. They need to get up here. 2 more of them start to waddle up, but they are a little slow to the party.
So far, so good here. Serral, very good control. Dives one more Ling into that Bane. The Queen's coming up for defense as well. The second Bane goes down.
Ooh.
And it looks like at the end, the third is going to be taken out. Things will probably slow down at least for a little bit, as that's going to be the end of the first attack from Serral.
More Zerglings coming across to counterattack now. Of course, Serral was holding down that drone key hard during that fight. He's gotten himself a worker advantage, but he's got to deal with soO's superior army. A lot of Zerglings here. Serral gonna take a lot of damage on that hatchery. So many Zerglings for soO.
Right now, the hatchery is about at half health here. We see that he has managed to drive him away. soO, again, with that remaining army, he decided to try to take use of that and attack down there. He does manage to save the hatchery. Let's see if soO continues to try to press forward. He's got drones being made back at home, but he has such a large number of units, he may try to attack in somewhere else.
Nice Zergling split-offs there by Serral. Trying to, of course, set off a Baneling on just one Zergling, gets the snipe. Nice control there. Serral's already got a very fast +1 range upgrade behind this. He's got his Lair and his Roach Warren on the way as well. So his tech a little bit ahead, but soO, now that he's been keeping Serral back on his side of the map, has held down the drone gear. He's going way up above 50 workers very quickly, and it's Serral's turn to swing back across. He says, hey, you forced me to make a lot of defensive banelings, well, I might as well shift across and put the pressure on you. soO here really trying to skimp on the baneling tech. He's being very greedy with just 2 banelings morphing.
Yeah, with Serral going to try to come in here at the top. Again, it's not going to be easy, but with these 4 banelings, you can absolutely pressure the other player to stay back and respect the space that you already have.
Yeah.
It's great control here, taking out more of those lings. Every ling is so precious in a ZvZ. You need as much as you can to try to help defend. And we have 2 more going to be slow dripped into this expansion area as he tries to get any kind of moment where he can attack it. And here's a great dive on that queen.
Yeah, nicely done, splitting a few lings off, but good defense by soO. Shuts it down and even gets an overlord that accidentally trickles in there. Those Zerglings that Serral tried to run by in the main get deflected. soO here, fantastic defense, stabilizes, still looking solid in this game. But Serral, that worker advantage, it's been maintained. The upgrade advantage is there. He's got about 45 seconds, 50 seconds of upgrade advantage on that +2, and that's going to give him a very strong Roach versus Roach timing attack.
And we are eventually going to phase out the pure Ling and Baneling attacks that are coming out in this game as they're going to try to tech up. Roach is certainly much stronger to fight a lot of those Ling Baneling unit groups, although they're not always quite as fast.
Indeed, a slower unit, better in those direct engagements though, especially as the upgrades tick on. Serral though, going for the second evolution chamber, is going to go for +1 carapace. soO's going to do the same, but it's going to be quite far behind, so I definitely think that 2-1 Roach timing attack, if Serral can engineer a few good engagements in that moment, you're going to be working with the exact same army, but you've got a 2 upgrade advantage. That could be massive, and already, I mean, neck and neck in supply, an upgrade advantage is huge at this point.
Absolutely, and I can't imagine that he's going to not do something like that in this moment. Some of Serral's lings are now moving through the map. Good block off there by soO, able to shave off a small bit of that army. Every little advantage is going to help. But I think you're absolutely right, Pig. We are going to have this moment when those upgrades finish, and the timing attack is going to be very strong and very difficult to deal with.
Nice cleans up here. soO getting the Ling Bane advantage, which is going to give him a nice little backstab force. Units that can run in, harass, maybe snipe off the 4th base of Serral. Serral going to actually go for a Roach drop here. A lovely little micro harassment you can do. The Lings of soO just diving on into the base will get a queen, making the most of these low-tier units.
The Lings now come inside the main here. soO keeping Serral very honest as far as his defense goes, and more Lings going to come in here and try to get just a few worker kills. The Nidus is about to finish here for soO. This has been very thematic with soO. Whether it's with the Nidus or not, he wants to get the first engagement off. He wants to try to get control of his opponent, maybe get him at the knees, so to speak, and then try to dominate from there. And this game is no different. The question is it going to work this time? Because the last time that soO's come in here trying to slow Serral down or get him in a timing attack, it has been easily denied.
Serral there, he's posturing with a Roach drop on the left-hand side, trying to catch up in the Roach. The Roach count is soO. And of course, those upgrades kicking in now for Serral. He's got that big 2-1 advantage. Does lose his Roach drop on the other side of the map, though. Does get sniped down.
Okay, Nidus coming in here. This is going to be denied very easily.
Shows it very early there. The Roach attack on the left-hand side, of course, looking to catch him out of position, but Serral's army is just way bigger right now. Ooh, he's going to notice those tunneling claws are finished. I'm sure Serral noticed that. Of course, the tunneling claws and burrow. soO going to be able to start just tunneling his way into the worker lines, looking to harass Serral down.
soO right now is again trying to get a Nidus up here. You can see Serral immediately reacts and is able to come in here. And again, this is a Nidus that is not going to work. I have to wonder if it would be better off using the Niduses on the exterior of Serral's bases in a place where maybe Serral can't deny it in time, and then try to hit from 2 different angles.
Yeah, another Nidus goes down in the main base, and at the same time, soO does jump on top of some Roaches and Ravagers out the front. soO here, he's posturing very aggressively, a few Roaches running by. Serral spots it, but he hasn't quite shut it down just yet. With the Nidus worm popping in the main base, things could get very messy very quickly here. I think that's a slight army advantage for soO, but it's very, very close. The piles do land there. At the same time, soO's going to push on the 3rd base.
You can see the drones now are being pulled to try to help out in this fight. We don't have any more army coming through that Nidus network just yet, but Serral beginning to close in. The Nidus network very low on HP. It is taken out, and this means Serral will clean up this attack in his main.
At the same time, deflects the army in the center of the map. Serral once again just presenting that impenetrable wall of defense. soO struggling to find purchase, and he really is just trying to create as many problems as possible for Serral. But I think at this point, realizing he cannot wear Serral down in this game, he's let Serral get to this stage, and he's actually going to go for Hive. soO is going to try and contest Serral in the end game. He's going to try and go toe-to-toe with the Titan, with the world champion himself. Let's see if soO's got what it takes.
Okay, that Knight is coming in here again. Always an answer here with Serral. This will die as it pops out and finishes. I don't see soO doing enough damage here. In a sense, he's getting the initial part of these attacks off, but then he hemorrhages his army once it starts. And he's eventually going to end up with a series of bad investments as far as where he tried to hit, because in one sense, he's also feeding his army into his opponents. There is going to be a moment where Serral is going to be able to come back out on the map and assert himself.
Well, you know, Tasteless, this sort of strategy, it's all about throwing enough problems at your opponent that eventually one of them sticks. Eventually, you do find a mistake, and it looks like soO may have found one. A hatchery snipe. A lovely run by with those burrowing roaches. A good snipe by soO.
Not just a good snipe, but a good escape as well. Meanwhile, Serral's main army is just outside, and it looks like he's going to try to hit this location in the top center. Another very important base. If Serral can get this, it would be huge, but soO with such a large army here to defend.
Oh, yeah, he can't get that snipe. Good evacuation there by Serral. You do not want to overstay that welcome. Remember, guys, soO has actually been up a little bit in economy. Since he's kept Serral so busy, he's been up at close to 70 workers. Serral sitting a little bit lower on 60. You can see the income advantage chart there showing that it's been a couple of minutes there with a big advantage. And Adaptive Talon's now on the way for his lurkers. His upgrade's not too far behind. This is going to be very different from game one. soO is actually going to have all the tools at his disposal.
One location on the map we want to watch for is this hatchery in the top center. It's very low on HP. We saw Serral's army drive by that and do a bunch of damage. It's not far from being sniped off.
Oh, and he's going to go for it.
This moment right here, right now. He goes for the hatchery, even over the drones, as he knows it's a very important play to do, and now he'll try to escape. This is going to even out the battlefield a little bit here in this soO versus Serral match.
Yeah, nice dent in the economy, but a good cleanup overall by soO. I don't think he minds that trade, as he does catch a fair number of roaches, and it doesn't open up any other opportunities. I feel like this sort of snipe here, where you sacrifice some roaches for a base, it's okay in the short term, but it's only really good if it opens up another avenue of attack, if it distracts or pulls your opponent out of position. And as it is right now, it still seems to be soO who's the one branching roach backstabs across the map, tunneling over. Serral catches it though, shuts that one down.
Okay, Serral coming through here and denying the small bits of armies that are trying to come in and disrupt the economy here of Serral. Meanwhile, we're finally seeing soO take the upper right spot on the map, as he's also reclaiming that hatchery that was lost. And this is where Zerg versus Zerg gets very difficult on both sides, because obviously, as we've seen highlighted in this series, counterattacks are very central to how you beat your opponent. But when both players have half the map, that means there's so many different locations to both attack and defend. It becomes a very difficult juggling act.
Yeah, I mean, lurkers are one of the most powerful siege units in the game, and the fact that you can just spew out dozens of those into your opponent's base means you cannot let a Nidus worm up inside your production, inside your tech. Another roach attack here from soO, but is it an overextension? Snipes down a few high-value units, but he's going to lose a lot of those on the retreat. The Nidus worm is going to get sniped. A lot of those roaches do fall. Once again, Serral here, happy to take these defensive trades. soO has the bigger bank, but Serral is adding more lurkers and more vipers to his army.
Yep, great play so far here. Both these guys really showing how strong they are at ZvZ. What I worry, though, for soO here, though, is that Serral's shown that he's got the stamina in these late-game situations, that he really is better at this type of game in this matchup than any other player in the world. So let's wait and see for how things develop here. We've got a lot of Vipers coming in here for Serral. soO right now making a lot of Lurkers, Vipers, and Hydras of his own.
A lot of Vipers, actually. Cool to see from soO, just really adding so much to that. Now, when these fights start, this is about to add a very, a very complicated stage of the game. As I say that, 4 Lurkers straight out into the main base. I mean, that's a really nice attack. If they can get on the mineral line especially, note they're just going to try and engage the roaches as they come up there. 4 Lurkers, a very scary force. Where's the Blinding Cloud?
Oh my god, this is so much damage. Finally, he gets the Blinding Cloud off, but already another Nidus Network pops out. That is denied here as well. But in the center of the map, there is another push coming forward here, and it might be targeted for this hatchery that was already destroyed once in this game.
So the next engagements, watch out for those big green clouds on the ground, the Blinding Clouds. They stop any unit. They reduce their range to melee range. So obviously both of these armies, big long-ranged armies, blinding clouds are going to force a player to disengage. They're going to have to unburrow their lurkers, pull out of that situation, and pull back. And right now we see Serral creating these problems, but when the big fight actually happens, it's all about those Vipers trying to pull each other into the Hydralisk and trying to land those big killer blinding clouds.
Both players are trying to stretch to the opposite corners of the map. We see that the hatcheries for soO are going to be placed, if it goes on, if the game goes on for long enough, over there in the far upper right. Same thing for Serral here in the far bottom left. But it's going to be hard to get there again with these Nidus plays continuously happening.
Oh, and another one popping up in the main of soO at the same time. Tunneling Claw Roaches on the right. soO does respond, but Lurkers get out and they're on the high ground in range of the drones on that natural. The Spine Crawler goes down, as do some of the defenses. A few workers are going to fall there as well. Oh, big blinding clouds here for soO, and he yanks a few of those Lurkers right into his army. But lots of Viper energy still there for Serral. You've got to be so wary of those Lurkers.
Very scary attack coming in there, hitting that location. Meanwhile, that upper right hatchery is probably going to be taking out Lurkers over here inside the main. Another Nidus on the way as well. Can soO handle this balancing act?
Oh, he's losing so much of his damage output here. He's trying to take out the Nidus, but that Lurker taking out so many units, it looks like soO will just barely stop that next Nidus worm from coming up, but he lost 15 drones and his 5th base in the midst of it. Serral's bank starting to catch up. He's ahead on workers, and he's catching up in the bank. He's just going to try and wear soO down. He can fight like this all day. It's going to be a battle of the Vipers here.
Yeah, we have some more skirmishes in the middle of the map, but it looks like Serral is slowly inching his way forward. He's already taken out that upper right base. That was one of the bigger victories in the latter part of this game. Now he wants to try to advance, ideally breaking this ramp and then pushing up and denying soO from having the upper right quadrant of the map.
I'd love to see a little bit of abduct coming down here on the opponent's Vipers. Both players targeting the Lurkers instead and using a lot more blinding cloud. Lurker on the top does survive, does keep the hatchery alive, that is. More Hydras, more Vipers on the way for Serral. And he's doing a good job of engaging, but I feel like soO's holding his own so far. I mean, his bank stays ahead about 1,000 minerals and about a couple hundred gas.
As soO slowly inches forward, there is a planned counterattack with a Nidus in the southern part of the map, but I'm worried for soO here. Serral is coming in so well with these attacks. Another wide range of blinding clouds coming down, making an attack here impossible as soO retreats.
Perfect split on the parasitic bomb there from Serral as well. And he does actually split those Vipers off, but I think he's going to have to pull back and get energy. His Vipers are all low on energy. Actually, Serral says, nah, I'm going to try and push up that ramp. At the same time, Roach is coming in on the other side of the map, but look at this, these Lurkers controlling the natural of soO could open up a push path for the Finn.
Beautiful play here by soO, doing a little bit of damage. It's going to go a long way, but most importantly, soO has to survive the attacks that are coming here from Serral. Each of these locations is getting weaker and weaker, and this foothold that Serral has right now is so strong. I'm not clear on whether or not soO can actually save this spot.
Yeah, I mean, if he can get Lurkers burrowed on this high ground as well, that would be amazing. Serral looking to just hold this one position. Great blinding clouds going down there on both sides. All those Lurkers on the left have been shut down by soO's blinding clouds. He forces him to unburrow and retreat. Only one Lurker survives for Serral.
I think Serral intelligently so backs off, realizing he's not going to get many more benefits from trying to stay in that position for much longer. And in a very ambitious play, we have soO also taking the upper right side of the map as he's going to push out and try to comb through here and dominate this central position.
It's been a while since we've seen someone take Serral to this stage of the game. It is always a pleasure to watch. soO so far holding his own. But I think the units lost now starting to favor Serral just a little bit, and that's exactly how he aims to win in the late game. It's all about the efficiency. You can see there he is leading by about 3,000 minerals.
Wow.
And over time, that's going to expand if soO doesn't make some big plays here. He's looking to play the even game, but I think what we need to see from soO is more abducts on the Lurkers and more abducts from the Vipers. That will really just whittle down the tech units, and you've got to start cutting into Serral's gas count because his bank is getting massive.
I love these very cost-efficient harassments that are coming out on the mini-map. For instance, we had those few lings going to the upper right just to try to kill some workers here and there. And also these lurkers coming out, because once they burrow, a lot of drones can be picked off, and you then have to get detection over there. Again, just causing more of a headache for your opponent.
Absolutely. Uh-oh, squad on the left-hand side is being caught here. Abduct's going to go down. We'll snatch one of those lurkers in. At the same time, Serral, most of his army's over to the right. This base is in a little bit of trouble. He's going to at least lose the gas geyser.
Yep, he probably doesn't want to push it any further here. He might try to snipe the hatchery, but that's going to be tough to actually pull off. Meanwhile, over here, this lurker is still burrowed. It could possibly take out the upper right hatchery.
Oh, those Hydras there. The Blinding Cloud misses the Lurkers. The Lurkers do add a nice bit of splash damage, but 2 Lurkers unsupported, not going to be enough to take on that many Hydras. That is 47 Hydralisks from soO. This is an absolutely insane army. He's realizing that because the Blinding Clouds are so big, it's hard to use Lurkers in a direct engagement. So because of that, Serral just splitting his Lurkers off. He's harassing from all different sides, and he keeps falling back with staggered defense on the front. He's just got to worry about one big, brutal frontal push. soO's Hydra count, its mobility, he's up to 57 Hydralisks, Tasteless.
Very impressive stuff here. I gotta say though, soO, he's doing, I think this is the best game he's played so far.
Yeah.
He's continuing to roam. He's got very good map control. He's basically locked Serral out of getting any kind of push into the upper right. We just saw 22 workers though picked off here, which is going to even out their worker count. There are periods in the super late game where workers become less important than main army, and here we have Blinding Clouds coming down on both sides, making the attack here so difficult.
The Vipers get the abducts off. A nice hold position there. Serral holding positioning on his Hydras allows them to snipe down the Vipers after the abducts. His Lurkers were recessed there. They were a little bit behind the initial start of the push. Because of that, Serral baited the Hydras in, did massive damage to soO's army, and took out some of his important tech units. We see 4 Vipers being rebuilt, but that's up against a Serral who has never dipped down. Ever since he went up to 9 Vipers, he has been sitting there for several minutes. That is so much utility with those spellcasters.
I just don't know if Serral can actually break through here. The angling is so good for soO's army. We even saw a small number of Hydras come up, attack the upper left side of the map, and then run away immediately, just hoping that maybe soO would end up over-defending, but he has not in any way done that this time around.
He's going to poke on the left.
He's going to do it again.
The Hydra's going in the left, and Nidus on the right.
Away.
Yeah, over on the natural. He's brought some Lurkers this time. Going to create a big problem for soO. Just a couple of Hydralisks, not going to be enough to defend that. And he's going to start to push forward. At the same time, this opens up the right-hand side. It is a classic 1-2 punch. It's one of Serral's favorite maneuvers at this stage of the game. Create a big problem with a harassment on one side of the map, sacrifice that force, and it can open up a big window for your main army to push through.
And now with these Lurkers on the high ground, it's going to be very difficult for soO to try to defend this location, as Serral has pounced over here, and there is just nothing to defend.
Yeah, he does have to worry about a Hydralisk flank, because he's only got a couple of Lurkers in there.
Wow, he is so patient. Never overextending is Serral. He's backed off again, using these burrowed Hydras that I thought were destroyed are actually there to spot to help have another Nidus network come through.
Yeah, he's relentless. He's just bouncing around, creating problems. soO has to be in so many places at once, and look at that. Another chance to abduct some Vipers. Parasitic Bombs do actually land a few kills that time around, but he loses all of his Vipers for it. Blinding Clouds blanketing both sides of this engagement, and he has to pull back, does Serral. He's still got a Lurker alive. A lot of his Vipers fell to the Parasitic Bombs, though. Really nice Parasitic Bombs from soO.
Yeah, soO now pushing down here into the south. soO looking for his opportunity, but there is a Nidus being made just in the upper right corner of the map for a counterattack here. soO decides it's not worth it, but again, this Nidus going uncontested could allow Serral to spill into the upper right corner.
So funny watching these big balls of Hydralisks move around the map, but the power of the Lurker, the power of the Viper, means those Roaches not as good a unit at this stage in the game. They're just too short range, too low damage. He's going to be able to
snipe this hatchery. If he gets this, it's huge. It does go down.
Yeah, and he repositions out of range of the Lurker as well, just trying to be so annoying here. And continuing to be a real pain in the butt for soO to deal with. The Hydras, the Lurkers controlling the middle of the map. We can see that Serral here, he's got the scarier army. He's built back up his Viper count. He's still continuing to just pressure with Nidus Worms on all sides.
Another Nidus coming here in the main. While soO was chasing Serral out of the center, Serral has now focused his attention on the far edges of the map. As soO is trying to recover and retake the upper right, he's now going to have to deal with this major attack here in his main.
That infestation pit's going to go down. The Hive is also in jeopardy. At the same time, a lovely arc in the middle of the map of Ducks. Even just Overseers going down does cost money of soO right now, but soO has kind of outpositioned him. Serral, he's separated from his economy on the left-hand side of this map. soO is going to press forward. He's going to look to seal the deal on Serral's economy. If he can take out this entire bottom left-hand side of the map, it's going to be massive.
But as he does that, he's losing all the infrastructure in his main, and there's still plenty of opportunities with Hive Tech here for Serral to continue to use Niduses to hit multiple locations over and over.
soO missed his opportunity to get further in there. Didn't want to overextend. and so much trouble for him back in his main base. Those blinding clouds are massive. Both sides taking heavy losses in that skirmish.
One thing I gotta go point out here, big picture, there is hardly any minerals banked up here for soO, hardly any gas. Right now, Serral has plenty more. So even though the supplies are fairly even, after a couple fights, it may come out with Serral slightly ahead.
Yeah, Serral down on workers right now, but as you said, better army, better bank right now. The Viper count still looking very healthy for him, and he's definitely got way more lurkers. Much more of a Hydra Viper focus here from soO. A big engagement starts. Lurkers in the back doing big damage, but the ones in the front a little bit slow to unburrow and get out of that blinding cloud. A lot of Overseers actually just got sniped as well. Serral just lost about 5 Overseers. They were all on hold position at the front of that fight. A big misstep from the Finnish player. soO here, he's got an army that's a little bit smaller. He's looking eager to push in, gets the half snipe. That's a freebie, man.
Yeah, that was pretty ambitious to try to take the hatchery there in the middle of that fight. Serral is pushing forward, taking more control at the center once again here. Things are getting very dicey. Remember that Serral also is low on workers. He's not sucking up as many of the resources on the map as soO will over time.
Does still have his hive up though, so can remake Vipers. Right now, I'm not seeing any Vipers with this army. I think, he's only got 1 Viper against 6. And soO's lair hasn't even finished rebuilding. It's several minutes until he can build more Vipers. Only 1 on the map up against the 6. That is insane. The Lurkers here continuing to cause problems. Brings an Overseer with him. Wins the Lurker versus Lurker fight. soO's mineral line in trouble.
Yeah, and as these Hydras will come up here and clean this out, there's another push coming just south of this. And there it is now. And that's so many Lurkers, and these Lurkers get shot down as well. There is no defense over in this position. And once again, Serral takes out another key base here of soO's.
Oh, Hydra's coming in for a flank. But I mean, that's a bit of a misstep from soO. His army is smaller right now. Remember, he's been on such a Hydra focus. This is such a fragile army. He doesn't have the meat of those Lurkers to back him up. It's almost pure Hydras. And without the Vipers to support it, this is not the army you want at this stage of the game.
We have soO coming down now. Looks like he might try to take a fight over here. It's going to be hard to win, though, with so many Lurkers, especially with these blinding clouds coming down. And I don't know that soO can take this in any fashion.
Wow, that was just perfect blinding clouds. Without the Vipers, you see just how weak soO's army is. He can't blinding cloud the Lurkers, and without that, he cannot stand his ground. Head-to-head, Serral's army is simply better. Hydras are going to try to run past. He's going to try and take an engagement by forcing soO to kind of headbutt into him. But look at that, he's even abducting Hydralists in. Serral here, his army is so good. As long as he doesn't headbutt up that ramp, he is good to break through. He might even just use Blinding Cloud here. Does not have the energy. Takes an awful engagement, but he's got the numbers. It doesn't even matter.
It's too much. GG!